The Galactic Council's emergency session was in its fifth straight hour when Ambassador Trell of the Vosian Federation slammed his tentacle-like appendage onto the circular table. "This is absurd. We cannot allow this to continue." Trell's voice modulator quivered with emotion. "The humans are threatening the very fabric of our galactic society." Ambassador Lox, the tall, slender representative of the Meridian Collective, tilted her crystalline head. "I failed to see the emergency. Interspecies relationships have existed for centuries." "Not like this," Trell hissed. "Not at this frequency." Across the chamber, human Ambassador Jack Wilson struggled to maintain his diplomatic composure. At 53 Earth years, Wilson had represented humanity for over a decade, but never had he faced such an unusual crisis. "With all due respect," Wilson began, "humans have only been part of the galactic community for 15 years. We're simply making friends." "Friends?" Ambassador Krill of the Draconic Hegemony snorted, releasing a small puff of sulfuric gas from his nostrils. "Your species has initiated mating rituals with representatives of 27 different galactic species in the last solar cycle alone." Wilson cleared his throat. "We call it dating, actually." The council erupted in a cacophony of translated outrage. 3 sectors away, aboard the interstellar cruise vessel Celestial Voyager *, Lisa Morgan was completely unaware of the diplomatic crisis she was partially responsible for creating. "And that's when I told my supervisor I wasn't going to work overtime without compensation," Lisa said, taking a sip of her iridescent cocktail. Across the table, her date Sorthal, a 7-foot-tall being with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that shimmered like distant nebulae, listened with rapt attention. "Your assertion of personal boundaries is admirable," Sorthal responded, his voice like distant thunder. "In my culture, we are assigned roles at birth and follow them without question for 10,000 cycles." Lisa's eyes widened. "That sounds awful. Don't you ever want something different?" Orthal tilted his head, the gesture he had picked up from human holovids. "Before meeting humans, such a question would be incomprehensible. Now, I find myself questioning many things." Lisa smiled. "That's what we tend to do to people." Back at the Galactic Council, the debate had devolved into chaos. "The humans are disrupting millennia of carefully established cultural protocols," shouted Ambassador Zix of the Hive Consciousness, their compound eyes flashing with agitation. Wilson sighed. "Maybe if you all weren't so rigid about your cultural protocols, you might actually enjoy yourselves once in a while." The chamber fell silent. "Enjoy ourselves." Ambassador Lox repeated the phrase as if testing an alien concept. "In many ways, she was." "Look," Wilson said, standing. "Humanity has always been curious. We explore, we connect, we fall in love. Sometimes it's brief, sometimes it lasts a lifetime, but it's genuine. But your reproductive compatibility is almost non-existent with most species," Krill noted, confused. Wilson smiled. "You're missing the point. It's not about reproduction. It's about connection." On the outer rim of the galaxy, Tom Rivera, a xenobotanist stationed on Research Outpost Delta, was having a similar conversation with his partner Vela, a bioluminescent being from the aquatic world of Nerian Prime. "So your council actually believes humans are, what? Using some form of mind control?" Tom laughed, his breath creating a small fog in the temperature-controlled habitat they shared. Vela's skin rippled with patterns of blue and green, her species equivalent of amusement. "The Elder Councils do not understand. They think humans must have some secret technology or pheromone." Tom shook his head. "The only secret power we have is not overthinking everything." Vela extended a tendril, gently touching Tom's cheek. "Perhaps that is power enough. My species deliberates for decades before making important decisions. Humans, you feel, you act." "Is that a compliment or a criticism?" Tom asked. "Both." Vela's skin flickered, and neither. The Galactic Council session had reached its 12th hour when Ambassador Wilson finally lost his patience. "Enough," he shouted, his voice echoing through the chamber. "I've listened to theories about human pheromones, mind control, and even some bizarre conspiracy involving Earth's moon. The truth is much simpler. The chamber quieted. Humans are adaptable. We find beauty in difference. We're not afraid to connect across boundaries that the rest of you have maintained for millennia. And yes, sometimes that connection becomes romantic or physical. Ambassador Trell's appendages writhed in discomfort. But why? What evolutionary advantage does this serve? Wilson laughed. That's your problem right there. Not everything we do is for evolutionary advantage. Sometimes we do things simply because they bring us joy. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Joy, Ambassador Locke repeated, without purpose. The joy is the purpose, Wilson replied. 6 months later, the Galactic Council issued Interspecies Protocol Amendments 7291, unofficially known throughout the galaxy as the Human Clause. It recognized the right of consenting adults of any species to engage in personal relationships without diplomatic interference. On the day of its signing, Ambassador Wilson received a private message from Ambassador Locke. I find myself curious about this joy without purpose. Perhaps we could discuss it over dinner. Wilson smiled as he composed his reply. Throughout the galaxy, on space stations and colony worlds, on massive cruise ships and tiny research outposts, humans continued what they had always done best: connecting, adapting, loving. And nothing, not even the initial shock and outrage of 1,000 alien species, could stop it. In the end, as humanity had discovered countless times throughout its history, love wasn't just a human trait, it was a universal one. Some species just needed a little help remembering that.